It's really interesting, this tension around, do I want to get to market as quickly as possible? Or do we want to take a step back, feel really confident in the research, the development, the product testing? We went through many, many versions of the mattress, many, many versions of the algorithm and how we match people. And the approach that we took, you really only get to come out to the world and present your product once, at least in physical products. That's sort of our belief, as differentiated perhaps from a more technical product where you can have an MVP. We couldn't really sell a mattress that was only 50% as good as we wanted it to be one day, because we would get terrible product reviews and we couldn't sort of build brand equity that way.
There are some big ticket items that most people have a need, but absolutely hate shopping for. Mattresses fall into that category. In fact, studies have shown that people would rather go to the dentist than buy a new mattress. Helix Sleep is trying to take the pain out of that experience. Adam Tishman is the co-founder and co-CEO of Helix Sleep. And on this episode of Up Next in Commerce, he explains why his D2C mattress company is different from the rest, and why those differences matter. He explains the reason it was critical to spend time researching, testing, and perfecting a product before bringing it to market, and how that upfront effort created priceless brand equity. Adam also dives into personalization, but he takes it beyond the need to simply give customers a personalized experience, and explains why data collection and a personalization strategy that includes personalized products can help you expand your business more successfully when you are ready. Enjoy this episode.
Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Respond quickly to changing customer needs with flexible e-commerce connected to marketing, sales, and service. Deliver intelligent commerce experiences your customers can trust across every channel. Together, we're ready for what's next in commerce. Learn more at salesforce.com/commerce. Hey listeners, it's Stephanie. Before we dive into the episode, I want to let you in on a little secret. Did you know that Mission has the #1 e-commerce newsletter? It's amazing. It has really good news and insights and case studies that you will not find anywhere else. So go subscribe. mission.org/upnextincommerce. All right, on to the show. Hey everyone, this is Stephanie Postal's co-founder at mission.org and your host. Today we're chatting with Adam Tishman, the co-founder and co-CEO at Helix Sleep. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stephanie, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So I have never said co-CEO before, which I kind of want to start there. Tell me a bit about, being a co-CEO at a company.
Yeah, definitely. So, we founded the business, myself and two other co-founders, out of business school. And over the sort of evolution of the company and where we've been over the past 5 years, we actually run it with myself and one of the other co-founders as sort of the two-headed dragon as co-CEOs. And then our third founder is our CFO and COO. And it works really well because it allows us to sort of manage different areas of the business at the CEO level, and also work really collaboratively together as well.
Awesome. So you co-founded Helix Sleep, and that was back in 2015, right?
Yeah, so it was founded by myself and, as I said, two other co-founders back in 2015. The three of us had moved to a new city to go to school, went through the process of buying a mattress, just for ourselves. And it was sort of uniquely terrible in many ways, whether it was really confusing, like pricing and really expensive pricing in the store, really just bad in-store buying experience. We actually found out later doing research that buying a mattress is actually rated as a worse experience than going to the dentist.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Yeah, and the last thing was, it was just really confusing. Like if you don't buy mattresses all the time, which no one really does, and it's something that you buy somewhat infrequently, people have a really hard time understanding how to buy it. And so for us, we sort of saw the problem, saw some of the solutions that others in our category were trying to fix this problem, and felt like we could sort of come in and solve it in a much better, more efficient way.
Got it. So 5 years ago feels like so long ago. What was the market like back then? I mean, who were some of the people, the up and coming people, and what kind of unique angle did you guys see in the market at that time?
Yeah, definitely. So 5 years ago, I would say the direct to consumer, or just generally buying mattresses, online was pretty nascent. It was, predominantly people were going to stores. There was actually a while where people were buying beds on phones, but we sort of saw the market, which is very consolidated at the like traditional brand retail level. So you have like sort of Simmons, Tempur Sealy, Sleep Number, Casper, which is, the most well-known and largest player of the D2C mattress brands, had launched recently and had, really done a good job at showing that this was a category that could generate interest online, somewhat of an atypical category with low, as I mentioned, low e-commerce penetration. What we saw as the issues that I mentioned earlier, we felt that Casper and a lot of the other brands that were starting to pop up were sort of maybe filling in one friction, but replacing it with a different friction. So, all of us, including Helix, offer products directly to consumers at much better price points, helping out that value chain issue with traditional retailers. Everyone tries to provide a much better buying experience through a really good user experience on the website, 100-night trial, free shipping, et cetera. The issue where we really differentiate at Helix is around the product itself. So what Casper did and what pretty much every other player in our space did was said, it's really challenging to choose a mattress. So we're going to just get rid of choice altogether and offer one type of mattress for every single person.
Yep.
And what we found doing a whole ton of research and talking to people, and it sort of makes sense, if you think about it implicitly, is that there really is a wide variety of needs and preferences as it relates to your mattress and to the way that you sleep. The same way that we all don't fit in the same clothing, we all don't have the same exercise routine that works best for us, the same diet. Sleep is quite personal. So one of our missions was effectively, could we help customers understand the right products for them through a sleep quiz that asked questions about things that you knew about yourself? So your body type, your height, your weight. Do you tend to sleep on your back or your stomach? Do you get hot at night? Do you get cold? Do you have back pain? Do you like a bed a little bit firmer or softer? And then we take that information and effectively translate it into the best mattress for you. So the order of the layers in the mattress, the density of those layers, the types of materials, the density of those materials are all really important for getting the best night's sleep. And effectively, that's what we're doing. So we like to think of it as sort of providing a technology-enriched solution as a salesperson. So instead of going to the store and sort of hanging out with a salesperson, we do that online through our quiz.
Very cool. And yeah, what I love about what I read about you guys was that you did a ton of research. I think I read that you went through 100+ page PhD dissertations, and you partnered with researchers in Europe to make sure you really understood how to create this algorithm and this quiz. Tell me a bit about your thought process there, because I think that's so different than a lot of D2C companies right now who are just trying to get that quick launch, take advantage of the market, and are like just going really quickly instead of taking a step back and doing the research and figuring out how to solve the problem.
100%. I think for us, none of the three of us came from a traditional like mattress background, right? And so we did what three nerdy guys would do, which is we started to do research. And we actually had this idea and stumbled across a PhD dissertation on sleep ergonomics, which is the study of the sort of spinal alignment of your back while you're sleeping. You hear a lot about spinal alignment and ergonomics in like sort of office chairs, but this was really the first PhD dissertation on that with bodies lying down. And we actually noticed that at the bottom of the PhD dissertation, the head author had left his email address. And so we emailed him. A couple days later, we got on a Skype call with him. They were located in Europe. And then about a week and a half later, we actually flew to Europe and met with them and effectively worked with them to translate their like initial science into the crux of our initial algorithm, which over the last 5 years, we've sort of wholly taken ownership of and refined quite a lot. And so it was sort of a funny story because it really was like we got on a plane and went to Belgium and had to figure out like where we were going and all those types of things. But it was really important because we felt like we had like a scientific base for the hypothesis that we were making.
Yep.
I think to your second part of the question, it's really interesting, this tension around, do I want to get to market like as quickly as possible? Or do we want to take a step back, feel really confident in the research, the development, the product testing. As you mentioned, we went through many, many versions of the mattress, many, many versions of the algorithm on how we matched people. And the approach that we took was that you really only get to, come out to the world and present your product once, at least in physical products. That's sort of our belief as differentiated perhaps from a more technical product where you can have an MVP. We couldn't really sell a mattress that was only 50% as good as we wanted it to be one day because we would get terrible product reviews and we couldn't sort of build brand equity that way. And so we did a lot of work up front to make sure that the product was where we wanted it to be.
That's great. It seems like there's a lot of room to partner with researchers around a bunch of different topics. But what was that partnership like? When you went over to Belgium and you're essentially building out a model or an algorithm based on this person's research, were they like, I want a piece of the pie? Like, I want a little equity? Or were they ready to give you all the information for free?
Yeah, definitely. So, we ended up working out a deal with them where effectively they provided like consulting services in exchange for equity in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that could have been consulting services for money at the time. This was literally very, very early days. It was actually before we started working with them, before we had raised our seed round. So there wasn't any money to pay them really. Mm-hmm. And so we went ahead with an equity relationship, which we felt made sense at the time. We still feel like it makes sense today. We don't really work with them at all and have not for a while, but it was really helpful to sort of supercharge our learning and understanding mm-hmm. in terms of the development of the product and the algorithm.
Very cool. Have you had to iterate the model? Do you see people requesting, different sleeping habits or behaviors? Like, have things changed over the past 5 years where you've actually had to change the model a couple times?
Yeah, a lot actually. It's one of the biggest from a consumer perspective. Our differentiation is about providing personalization and a more custom, mattress buying experience. But from a business model perspective, our ability to look at our algorithm or our model and effectively improve it is a really big lever to what makes us unique. And so if you think about what we're doing is we're taking, as I said, information about yourself, matching it to a mattress. And so over the years, we've effectively, having sold hundreds of thousands of beds, we just have a lot more data. So we've been able to improve both the way that we match you. So person A with these attributes, are you getting matched to bed XYZ and sort of edit that, as well as making physical product improvement to the beds themselves. So, a lot of people talk about A/B testing and talk about opportunities with using data to improve your product as it relates to like your digital product, right? Your on-site conversion or your UX or something like that. We have taken that mentality to the physical product as well. And we've actually been able to reduce our return rate, improve customer satisfaction, improve average order value, all like the main metrics associated with product and product satisfaction by effectively looking at it in that light.
Got it. I also was reading that the return rate, like if you overemphasize how you have free returns and the 100-day, night guarantee and all that, if you overdo that, you'll be able to sell a lot more just because people have peace of mind, even though I think I saw at least, it was a Casper stat, but it was only 10% of the people or less actually return their mattress. Do you guys go about that same way of thinking of overemphasize things to make people feel like it's a risk-free purchase?
Yeah, I think there's two things there. I think that in our category, offering a fairly long return period, it's typically 100 nights, mm-hmm. is kind of necessary because you need to make someone feel confident in purchasing such a large but really expensive item, right? Like average order values in our category are really high. And so people want to feel really confident in the product that they're ordering. And that's why all of these brands are offering free returns, free shipping in many cases or most cases, really generous policies around warranties, et cetera. It's just offering more opportunity to make someone feel comfortable with spending those dollars. So, we definitely approach it that way. I wouldn't say that we necessarily like overemphasize it. The reality is most people need around 2 to 4 weeks to get used to a new mattress. And then after that, you don't really need another 70 days.
Yep.
But people tend to to like that process, and in terms of return rates, like you're right that return rates they're honestly, I mean, Casper's return rate is probably higher than that number you said, but they're not as bad as like retail, like traditional apparel or something where return rates are like 40, 50% or something like that.
Yep. What happens when a mattress is returned? Where does it go?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do a few things. So when customers want to return a product, first we work with them to see why, because there are ways we actually can improve the product experience like after the fact. So we can send you a topper that adjusts the feel or other things along those lines. But in cases where mattresses need to be returned, at Helix at least, we actually donate the vast majority of them. So we have a network of donation partners across the country where we will donate them. In some cases, we cannot donate them either because there's state laws against it or city laws against it, or if someone's like located in a somewhat remote area.
Yep.
And in which case we work with junk removal partners that end up recycling them. So all of our beds are technically in the 100-night period considered lightly used. So they're eligible for donation.
That's great. So I was reading there's about over 100 companies now that sell mattresses online. How do you show how different your mattresses are and the algorithm that you have going on? Like, how do you showcase that value proposition on your website or your advertising?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a good question, and it's funny. That quote comes up a lot, like the 100 plus mattress companies. It's one of those weird categories where there is a very long tail of players. So you probably have 10 to 15 players that have reached any semblance of scale, and then 80 that are very, very small. I mean, you would almost consider them like the equivalent would be like a mom and pop shop in like retail world.
Yep.
What I will say is that buying a mattress is a long lead process. So when you decide you want to buy a bed, you're typically in market for it for a week, few weeks, months even. And what that means is that you have many touch points with multiple brands, right? And you can imagine it's like buying a car, it's like buying anything that's expensive. And so across that journey, we feel like we do a really good job of sort of elevating our brand proposition and really personalizing our messaging specifically to consumers in ways that really speak to them so that our differentiation shines. The other thing is that because of the way that we customize beds and also that we really spend a lot of time on making sure that the product quality is excellent, is we just win a lot of like awards. So like we were named GQ's Best Mattress, Wired Best Mattress, whole host of others. And then we also get awards like for specific affinity groups. So like best mattress for back sleepers, best mattress for plus size consumers or something like that. And we're able to elevate those messages on like individual mattresses.
Got it. Yeah, I think it was your organic line that won an award. How did you guys think about developing a new product that was organic materials? And also, when you like launch something like that, does it make your other products maybe not look as good? Or how did you guys think about like that? Will it help us or hurt us putting out an organic line? Because when I looked at it and I look at any organic products, it always makes you think like, oh, well, what's in the other one? If this one's made of natural materials and no chemicals, so how did you guys think about that balance?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually thought about that question a lot, and where we ended up, and it's almost the core strategy of Helix is that, throughout the first 3.5 years of our business, we were holistically a single D2C brand, Helix, right? Started out as just mattresses and then extended into other sleep products, pillows, sheets, box springs, adjustable bases, et cetera. And then about 1.5 years ago, we took a step back, saw what we were building, which was this really fast-growing, profitable brand in a category that we were sort of one of the leaders in. But what we saw under the hood was this really excellent collection of skill sets across our team, across our technology, some in-house built technology, across our supply chain capabilities and relationships. Could we view ourselves less as a single brand and more as a platform on which we could build a portfolio of home good brands? And that is the strategy that we are currently on. And so Helix is our sort of most well-known, largest brand. But Birch, which is our organic line, our organic brand, was launched about 1 year ago. And it is actually a sort of related, but completely separate brand. So if you were to go to birchliving.com, you would effectively see an entirely organic ecosystem with the goal of really feeling, truthfully feeling authentic to consumers that care about organic products. That supply chain is 100% sustainable. It's just a much different consumer. And so, we want to make sure we talk to that niche consumer in a specific way that is perhaps different than a typical Helix consumer. And we've extended that process out more recently with the launch of Allform, which is our first step out of the bedroom into the living room, which is a modular furniture brand.
I love that. I mean, that seems so smart because it's different consumers. They're looking for different things. And, like like you were just mentioning, if you're comparing the two, then you might actually walk away feeling bad if you went with, the one that wasn't organic. But when you have it on a completely different site, you're really, meeting the needs of the person who's coming there instead of trying to put everything on one site. So I love that.
Yeah, I think it's just it's certainly a slightly different strategy. But we just feel like consumers, especially online consumers, want niche experiences and want experiences that really speak to who they are and their preferences. And we were sort of already doing that on the product side with Helix, but it made sense to do it in this scenario on the brand side with Birch as well.
Yep. How do you keep track of everything that's happening under the different brands and the different websites? I mean, how do you, make sure any learnings that happen at Birch are maybe transferred over to Helix and over to the furniture line? Like, how do you keep it cohesive when you essentially have now 3 or 4 different businesses running?
Yeah, it's hard for sure. I think we're currently operating under a shared services model. So we don't have a team that just does Helix and a team that just does Birch or a team that just does Allform. We're just not this. The other 2 brands are just not at that scale yet. Mm-hmm. But so that makes this actually a little bit easier because you have the same people that work in a functional area, working across all of the brands.
Yep.
But it's certainly challenging, for sure. And we've been able to take a lot of learnings from Helix specifically, which is which is an older brand. It has a lot. It just has a lot more data. It has more customers on a daily and monthly basis, and leverage those learnings across the other brands, which it's typically in that direction from a learnings perspective.
Yep. I mean, there seems like there's a big opportunity to also retarget prior customers because you already know how to talk to them. You've already sold to them before, and then showing them your new furniture line or the pillows or bed frame, even if it's on a different website, you kind of already know how to communicate that to them in a way that has converted in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the core business case, right? And from a business perspective, we like that because it allows us to acquire a customer, build a lot of goodwill with that customer, and then sell them more products, right? Obviously. Yep. But from a consumer perspective, we also think it adds a lot of value to the customer journey because customers that are in market for things like mattresses tend to be in market for other home good products. Maybe you're moving, maybe you're renovating, maybe you got married, maybe you had a kid. Something is predicating your reason for being in market. And in many cases, if we can sort of create a lot of goodwill with you and then offer you more products, it's not just good for our business, it's also good for the customer because it makes shopping easier, right? It makes your mm-hmm. purchase cycle and shopping and all of that a lot easier. And so that's what we're starting to do now and where we're excited to go in the future.
Very cool. So I also saw that you guys, I don't know if you still have showrooms, but you did have some showrooms in New York, and the process was that a customer would come in and they would take the quiz, and then they would go to the showroom and maybe hang out for an hour, take a nap, try out the mattress. How has that model changed? And what's going on with maybe not having the ability to bring people into a showroom and try it out?
Yeah, definitely. So, we had a showroom in New York. It's obviously been closed for the last 9 months. It was a really unique experience because it felt extremely personal because it was really personal. It almost felt more like you were getting like a piece of clothing tailored because you would show up, many cases you would actually make an appointment in advance. We would have your information. We would actually build the bed for you on the spot. You'd be part of that process, and then you could hang out, test it, et cetera. And we tried to make the experience really, really great. It's unfortunate that we've had to close it. We have plans of moving into a more aggressive thoughts around potentially showrooms or retail units going forward.
And so when thinking about your marketing toolkit, what are some of your favorite channels to get in front of new customers right now?
Yeah. So, I think that we approach marketing extremely holistically. We have a very, very diversified marketing approach. Part of the reason for that is we think it just mitigates risk. It's very scary when, 80% of your marketing budget is in one single channel, especially if one of those channels is like a technology marketplace, or, if it's Google or Facebook and all of a sudden the Google algorithm changes or Facebook gets rid of a targeted audience and that's it. And that actually happened in the home goods category a few years ago on Facebook.
What they take away?
Yeah, I think it was 2018. They took away, there was a way that Facebook could help identify new movers, and they took that away, and we weren't super hit by it, but I know a lot of home good brands and a lot of mattress companies, like it was like overnight 30% of your ad spend disappeared. Kind of that kind of thing.
That's interesting. They were even talking about new movers, because I'm in the process of moving right now and thinking about, do I just want to buy a new mattress so when we get there, it's already set up, or, because it's going to take maybe a week or so to get all my stuff there. Yeah. So it's very smart to be able to target people like me.
Yeah. And so, we try to avoid that just being too aggregated in a single channel. And so we're really diversified. The other thing is we operate almost all of our channels in-house. It's just really important to us to be internal and holistic about it. So I mean, in terms of channels that we love, it's nothing crazy. We're obviously across all the digital channels, radio, podcast, direct mail, all of those. I think the magic, if there is magic, the magic for us is really around thinking through the customer funnel holistically and making sure we understand and attribute accordingly with a pretty diversified marketing stack.
Cool. So when thinking about 2021, what kind of trends are you most excited about, or, new behaviors that you've seen occurring that you guys are excited about?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think obviously just in general, COVID has really accelerated like e-commerce adoption, in atypical categories. And so I think that's pretty exciting to see where that settles, once hopefully the world gets back to normal. I think a few areas that we're particularly interested in is there's a lot of movement on like payment options and like better opportunities for people to pay, which is sort of exciting. Another one is really around like blending products and services. So sort of like offering services and attaching them to products and using those as ways to like better convert customers, and like the tools available to do that are pretty interesting. And then, and just for us, it's really around continuing to personalize our web experience, provide better customer experience and those types of things. So, I think 2021 is going to be a really interesting year. I think it's actually going to be like two distinct years in one. Like the first half and the second half will be just completely different for a lot of businesses. And I actually would encourage anyone that's like thinking about either starting a business or budgeting for a business to think about the world that way. You might actually want to have budgets for like a beginning of the year plan and a second half of the year plan, because it's just really hard to know where we'll be. I feel confident in knowing where we'll be for the next like 3 to 4 months, but after that, it's going to be a completely new experience.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. So I want to dig a bit more into, you were just mentioning about merging products and services, and I haven't heard anyone talk about that yet. So I want to hear more. What are you thinking around that? What kind of tools are popping up that you have top of mind?
Yeah. So, I think for us, merging products and services, there's a few forms of it. One, which is at its most face value, is just offering more services as if they were products. So like that would be things like white glove delivery, things like old mattress removal, those types of services, which technically aren't really like physical products, but they help convert customers into buying your physical products. Perhaps the more interesting area is as it relates to customer experience, and can you empower your customer experience team to provide service as opposed to just being like an answer center, right? So like, I think a lot of people view customer experience or customer service as an area where people go to ask questions, but can you be more proactive providing service, whether that service be design consultation, be like helping think through answering questions or whatever it might be, that really activate it almost a little bit more like a sales channel. I think that's really interesting as well for us. And then, I know a lot of other people are thinking about other types of services they can offer. Obviously, this is just what we're thinking about. But I think that you're going to see a lot more like web experiences that are trying to provide like a service-like experience to a consumer in addition to a product.
Got it. Yeah. And it seems like once some of those services start happening, though, a lot of times they can become commoditized where then the consumer just starts to expect it. I mean, I'm even thinking about, contactless delivery and things like that, where it might cost some businesses, extra money to be able to do that or take a mattress away or whatever it may be. But I think eventually it'll become standard and that businesses need to start planning for what are the consumers looking for now and what will eventually have to be absorbed into the margin because it's, commoditized.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that if what you're adding is something that can be easily commoditized, it certainly will be. Mm-hmm. If what you're adding is differentiated, unique, and valuable, then you should be able to charge for that value, right? It's sort of that simple. And so, I think the example I use, like white glove delivery that's not like unique to us. Like, we're not the only people that can do that, obviously. And so offering that perhaps could be something that becomes table stakes or something that consumers come to have a level of expectation, but offering like really niche opportunities to engage with someone on our CX team to help you through the buying process. Mm-hmm. That's not a commodity, right? Like that's something that you can really get to an amazing place through training and through branding and through just like the entirety of your ecosystem, in my opinion. And so I definitely agree that some of these things could be commoditized, but if you're doing them right, you should be able to it should show up in your financials somewhere, whether it's like you can charge more, your conversion rate is better, et cetera.
All right, let's move over to the lightning round brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. This is where I'm going to ask a question and you have a minute or less to answer. Are you ready, Adam?
I hope so.
All right. First up, if you were to have a podcast, what would it be about and who would your first guest be?
If I had a podcast, I mean, this is a boring answer right now. It would be on like effectively what I was just talking about, which is like the future of D2C. And my first guest would probably be Jeff Rader from Harry's.
Oh, that's a good one. Awesome. What's up next on your Netflix queue?
I'm about to finish the last episode of Queen's Gambit, and I love it. It's really cool, and I like it a lot.
So good. I finished that too. It's awesome. What topic or trend do you not understand today that you wish you did?
I dabbled in like high level cryptocurrency a year and a half ago, and I just don't understand it at all. So I wish I knew it better because I think there's opportunity there, but I'm not sure I'm the guy that's going to find it.
What's the nicest thing someone's ever done for you?
Wow, the nicest thing someone's ever done for me.
I get that response a lot. Whoa, deep.
Yeah, I mean, that's deep. I don't know. I mean, my wife married me. That was pretty nice. I'm pretty happy about that.
What a nice lady.
I know, right? What a nice. I guess the nicest thing, we had some pretty good, like, I'll just bring it back to Helix. I don't know if that's a boring answer or not, but we had some pretty awesome early advisors that really didn't need to give the time that they gave. And it was just like immensely valuable. So I'll go with that.
That's a good one. All right. And then the last one, what one thing will have the biggest impact on e-commerce in the next year?
Well, the real answer is COVID and the vaccine. Yeah. That is the answer. And I think that anyone that tells you it's not macroeconomic facts is lying. From an internal standpoint, I'll go back to something I said earlier. I think that like the movement in payment processing is a pretty big deal, and not a lot of people are thinking about it. And I think that's going to be a big deal. Yep.
Cool. All right, Adam. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Where can people find out more about you and Helix?
Yeah, definitely. So come check us out. It's helixsleep.com. For Helix, for Birch, it's birchliving.com. And for Allform, the modular sofa brand, it's allform.com. Yeah, and that's sort of the best place to check us out and learn more.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much and have a great night.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you'll probably also love our e-commerce newsletter. To get it delivered straight to your inbox every week, sign up at mission.org/upnextincommerce.
Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud and created by the team at mission.org. Subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.